Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bakker. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. Welcome back to Trade Talk, the podcast where we dive into the stories and strategies behind the building industry. I'm your host, Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bakker. And today we're going to talk to April Harrison, an environmental consultant, about what we can do to keep ourselves out of trouble on the construction site.
Yes, so April has more than 20 years of experience in stormwater management, compliance, and she has a whole alphabet soup of certifications behind her name. So I know she's going to be perfect to tell builders what they can do to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, we've gotten to know her a little bit through our Contractor Connect events. She attended the Built to Lead conference as well, and we just knew we had to have her on. There's not enough talk about this in our area. So if you ever wondered what all those inspections and silt fences and all those things were for, she's going to answer all your questions.
Yep, so she's going to be breaking down the Clean Water Act and NPDES and the permit process, so we're excited to learn more from her.
All right, let's talk to April.
If you're in the construction industry and your marketing feels more like a punch list than a plan, it might be time to call in the pros. At Bespoke Consulting, we help contractors and construction businesses get noticed with branding that builds trust, websites that convert, and marketing strategies that actually move the needle. Want to grow your business without wasting time or money? Start with Bespoke. Learn more at bespokeconsulting.com. Hi, April. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here.
Great.
All right, let's get going.
All right, you want to start us off, Erin?
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about risk management. What's at stake when builders ignore erosion control or stormwater management? What kind of problems can that cause?
So the Clean Water Act allows all states to have what we call the NPDES permit in each, and they make a state-specific NPDES program. Under those programs, builders can be fined from $2,500 a day to $25,000 a day per violation. So obviously with those numbers, those can add up quickly. And the permit also says that you can spend jail time for continually ignoring these requirements that are made, right?
So that's quite serious.
Yeah, that's scary, right? Every single time you sign a notice of intent, you sign a set of plans, an inspection, there is a certification statement at the bottom that says under penalty of law, and you also say in there that you understand that you could also do jail time by falsifying documents. That's how serious this really is. And of course, time is just money for builders. So even if we're not talking about regulatory fines, we're talking about civil fines. If you get sediment into a creek that flows downstream into somebody's pond that's feeding their cows or things of that nature, they can sue the builder. Then, of course, you can also be shut down, and time is money. The more time that they're spending shut down and they're not building, they're accruing interest on all of that. So we're looking at fines, we're looking at civil lawsuits, things of that nature, and we're looking at just flat out time is money for builders.
Wow, so that's definitely very serious. So in your work experience, without naming names, can you give us some examples of times when there have been jobs that have been shut down or builders have been fined for these things?
Yes, so jobs are shut down on a regular basis. So I wouldn't think that would kind of be, an anomaly. But I do have a site that did pay over $1 million. They actually got sediment into a trout stream. And of course, not only did that violate the Clean Water Act, but then that's an endangered species. So anytime that you have any of those things and you think, okay, well, we're in Florida and we don't have, cold enough streams to have trout, but you guys have other endangered species there. So you have to remember that all of these federal acts and legislation, they all go together hand in hand.
So I probably should have asked you this first, but can you give us, for someone that doesn't know, tell us more about the Clean Water Act? Like, let's
So
back
the
up.
Clean Water Act is a federal permit, and in that permit, they are regulating pollutant discharges into drinking water. And sediment is considered a pollutant in the Clean Water Act, which is how we get to uh, construction sites, right? So a construction site is discharging, they strip all the vegetation off, and then it rains, and all of a sudden that dirt has to have somewhere to go. And then that dirt travels into our drinking water, into our creeks and our rivers and our streams, our lakes. And so that's a pollutant. So then they created the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, which is supposed to help us eliminate those pollutant discharges on construction sites.
Okay.
And so that's where you come in as a consultant, and you can help with pre-planning to avoid these kinds of issues.
That's right. In the state of Florida, before you ever submit what they call a notice of intent, and you have to have that to start a job site, you have to create what is called a SWIP. Each site has a site specific SWIP. It is your stormwater pollution prevention plan. So as a consultant, we come in and we look at your project. We look at the areas that are going to be a problem. So your steep slopes, the lowest point of your site, if you're right up against a creek or a stream, all of those things would play in as we're creating this stormwater pollution prevention plan. We're going to focus on those areas and have more what we call best management practices, more silt fence, more hay bales, things that'll actually slow down the velocity of water and hold back that sediment from leaving your site.
Stormwater management and stormwater planning is such a hot topic where I live. I'm in South Walton on the north side in the Chat Holly area, and there's so much development happening and so many people concerned and groups that have gotten together about the stormwater management plan. So I could see that they could use your help as well.
Yes.
So what are some, go ahead.
I was going to say, so I know, and I think this is a question, so I'm jumping ahead for you, but the more dense your area becomes, the more building that's in your area, that attracts the state, right? So all of a sudden the state sees there's all this building going on in this area, and they want to come in and they want to make sure that things are being done the way they're supposed to. So as your area starts to increase in building and development, then you're going to see an increase of these state regulators coming into your county.
Well, it's kind of good if you're the homeowner, if it's your community. I see
If
both
it's your
sides of it.
community, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah. But for the contractor, they need to make sure they know what they're doing and are doing it right. And that's something that you could help with. So let's teach them a little more.
So what are some practical steps builders can take to stay compliant?
So they want to make sure that they have a good stormwater pollution prevention plan. They want to make sure they follow that plan, right? It doesn't really matter how much we plan ahead if you're not actually following through. So you want to make sure that you keep your silt fences clean. You want to make sure that your entrances and exits have rock on them so that you can get mud off your tires before you're going out into the public right of way. And as silly as that sounds, excess sediment in our public right-of-ways can actually cause accidents. So it's an endangered public health. So again, now we're crossing over into other, legal terms and things of that nature. So, just making sure they follow the plan. Your state says that you have to do inspections on a construction site once every 7 days and after every half inch of rain, even on the weekends and even on federal holidays. So it's important that either you're certified to do inspections on your own site, or you hire a third party that can handle those things for you.
Interesting. I didn't know, especially about the gravel or rock that's kind of a thing in my neighborhood.
Maybe you should turn
constructions. Yeah, maybe I'll turn into the police after this podcast.
I don't know if the police is the right person to call.
Right. No, I mean the sediment police. Want to grow your network and your business? Join Contractors Connect, the go-to networking group for professionals in the building industry. For just $400 a year, members get 4 complimentary meetup tickets per year, a featured spot in our online directory, visibility at every Contractors Connect event, and more. Whether you're a contractor, vendor, or service pro, there's a place for you here. Join today at contractors-connect.com/memberships, and let's build something great together.
So what do inspections actually look like? How can builders prepare?
So an inspection is going to look at all of what we call your best management practices, and those are those structural BMPs, what we call them. That's your silt fence, any kind of um, sediment basin, anything that's holding back the water, right? What we're also looking for is that you minimize your bare areas. So the federal permit says that you cannot have bare areas for more than 14 days without putting temporary seating or hay, mulch coverage, that kind of thing. So we're looking for that kind of stuff to make sure you don't have exposed dirt for too long. All your BMPs are being managed correctly, that you're following that stormwater management plan. A lot of people just look for, what's wrong, but I also want to take your plan and make sure, hey, did you install 2 rows of silt fence? If your plans called for that, we want to make sure you're doing everything by the plan. Because circling back to where there were fines, they are more lenient on fines if you're following the permit, right? Because
Right.
rain is an act of, nature. So we can't really control how it's coming in. But if you're not doing anything, they're going to slap the harder fine on you. If you're actually trying to comply, then they'll be more lenient on you.
Makes sense. So how would someone find a credible certified consultant?
Okay, so I'm so not glad you asked me that. So I can't find in the state of Florida a list. So in the state of Georgia, you can literally search and see if someone's certified, right? And I can't find that in the state of Florida, but I'm going to keep looking for you because there has to be something somewhere. But you're 100% looking for an environmental consulting group, any kind of third party NPDES monitoring group. Those are the things that you would probably Google, but I can't find where Florida has a list the way that Georgia does.
Okay, that's interesting.
So,
It is.
is this something that a builder should implement on every single project, or can they say have a consultation and then they understand what they need to do to be compliant moving forward?
So the permit applies to anybody disturbing 1 acre or more, unless you're in a common development. And if you're in a common development, it doesn't matter if you're disturbing 1/4 of an acre, 1/8 of an acre, you have to do it anyway. So common developments are your subdivisions and things of that nature. So 1 acre or more disturbed, or if you're in a common development, that's when you need an NPDES permit, coverage, a notice of intent, and all of the things that go along with it.
Gotcha. So, do you find that regulations are tightening or shifting?
I definitely see a tightening in Florida for sure. It's kind of like I told you. I've been in Georgia for over 20 something years, and I've expanded into Tennessee and Florida. In the last 3 or 4 years, and it's interesting because it's the same thing. It's what I told you earlier. A long time ago, if you were in South Georgia, you could kind of get away with murder because there wasn't a lot going on, right? But as we continue to urbanize the more southern region of Georgia, along comes your counties and your municipalities, and they're looking for those things that you're doing wrong, and the same things applying there. Walton County is a hot box right now for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection because you guys are building so much so fast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure are. Yep.
How can technology like drones help change things?
So we are very careful with drones. I'll be honest. I love them on large sites. We do construction sites that are 500 plus acres. It takes a long time to walk that site, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to have a drone, but I will say that especially in areas where the topography is steeper, you have lots of hills and valleys. It is very hard for a drone to see if silt fence is undercutting on those areas. So water literally is going under the silt fence, right?
Hmm.
That's difficult. Also, I have a couple of builders. I won't name names, but one big builder down in Florida too that refuses to let there be any drone use. They don't want any photographs of their developments while they're going on, and I have seen a rise in that as well.
Interesting.
So again, a double-edged sword, right? It's
Yeah.
it's helpful. It's not a substitution for truly walking your site, and then you
Right.
have to also make sure that the developer is okay with that because some of them are not.
We're hitting the road. Contractors Connect is headed to Daphne, Alabama. We're excited to break into this new market, and we want you to join us on Thursday, January 29th for our Contractors Connect pop-up. More details will be coming soon, and sponsorships are currently available. Contact us for details. We are going to do a rapid round of myth busting, and so we are going to say some myths, and you're going to give us your feedback on it.
Okay.
All right. So first one is, my project is small, less than an acre, so I don't need a permit.
As long as you're not in a common development.
Which I would say most of the time people are.
Yeah.
I just went through this when I was thinking about building a she shed in my backyard, and there was like 900 reasons that it wasn't going to work because I'm on the water and it had to be far enough away from the water, and I'm assuming that would be part of the Clean Water Act, that
That's right.
setback. Yeah. Okay. See, I have firsthand experience there. Winning. All right. The next one is, we just had a big rain, but everything looks fine. So there's no need to inspect.
Nope, it is a requirement. It is a federal requirement that you have to inspect 24 hours after every half inch of rain in the state of Florida.
Even on a federal holiday.
Even on a federal holiday or a weekend.
Wow.
All right.
Just FYI, some other permits allow you to skip federal holidays and weekends, and I love those states.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So if it rains on Christmas Eve, which it does a lot,
Yeah.
somebody's got to go out there on Christmas Day.
That's correct.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. Erosion control is just silt fence. It's all the same.
That is incorrect. So every stormwater management plan includes structural BMPs like silt fence, vegetative BMPs like grass, temporary seeding. It also includes phasing. So we want to make sure that we minimize the amount of bare dirt. So we may only disturb the first 25 acres in this and call it phase one. We do phasing. So no, that's incorrect.
Okay.
Okay. Environmental consultants are just another added expense.
Okay, so yes and no.
I mean, they are, but
I'm not
maybe we should say,
referring, so there's that.
might not be worded correctly, an unnecessary expense.
It is risk management at the end of the day, kind of like what you said in the beginning. Compliance is part of what we do, but what I really want to do and what I try to do when I'm inspecting, not only am I really just checking all the boxes that the state says, hey, is your silt fence half full? Do they have grass? I'm not just checking boxes. If I know a storm event's about to come, I'm coming to your site and I'm telling you, hey, this area has blown out 2 different times. Not only do we need the silt fence that's on your plans, but let's put an extra row of hay bales here to prevent you losing sediment here. When I personally am doing something for someone, it's my reputation on the line. And I want to make sure that I truly am their risk management person. I want to tell them all the things that could get them in trouble. I want to help them understand the permit, because I do understand that as a builder, they still need to make money. They could spend thousands, millions of dollars trying to prevent it. But I try to help them find that gray area that keeps them in compliance, their risk low, while they can still make money.
Right. It sounds like it could be a lot more expensive to not have an environmental consultant.
Well, you could go to jail.
Yeah, and I don't think I would I don't know, I'd probably do fine in jail. I don't think you would do well at all.
I mean, maybe you could make a nativity set like Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have a nice time. We'll see. All right, you're next.
Okay, so as long as I have the permit, I'm covered.
No, because you still have to make sure that you're complying with the permit, that you're doing the inspections. I don't think I've mentioned this, but you also have to keep all of your records on site. So in a site notebook on your site, you keep your notice of intent, a set of plans, all of the inspections you do, all of that's required. And then it's kind of like the IRS. After that project's done, you have to keep all of that documentation for 3 years after it, because the EPD can come back and look at it for up to 3 years after your project gets complete.
Okay. The subcontractors handle all the compliance stuff.
No. So it depends who has the permit. If the developer, whoever the responsible official is what they call it, whoever filed for the permit, they are responsible. So it could be your developer, it could be an individual builder. It just depends on the circumstances.
Okay. Okay, last one. Sediment isn't pollution, it's just dirt.
The Clean Water Act defines sediment as a pollutant.
All right.
All right, I think that wraps up our myths. I learned a lot. April, are there any last tips you want to share with our audience?
No, I'm just really excited to kind of be getting what we do out there. It is, like I said, Florida has just kind of started pushing back on it. So I do think that like education for, everybody who's involved in your Contractor Connect, which I adore, I do think like some of this they just need educating. When I talk to them about, hey, do you have a SWIP or do you have a third party? A lot of them look at me like I'm a crazy person because I just don't think that there's a lot of education because it hasn't been enforced. So I'm just excited to be able to be part of the education process for all of your builders and contractors.
Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you on Trade Talk, and we'll make sure to get your message out to all of our followers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Kickstart your morning with coffee, mimosas, and meaningful connections at our November Contract Her networking meetup, Caffeinate and Collaborate. This casual, energizing event is all about bringing together women in the construction and building industries to share ideas, spark conversations, and build community. Join us on Thursday, November 13th from 10 a.m. to noon at Floor & Decor in Pensacola. Tickets are on sale now and sponsorships are still available. We hope to see you there.
Well, that was great. I feel like I learned a lot from April, and I think everybody should be listening because, like she said, they're really cracking down in Florida, and probably for good reason.
Right. I'm excited for everybody to learn from this because I think there was a lot of valuable things that she had to say that can keep people out of jail.
Right. Exactly. Jail is not for everyone.
And at minimum, keep their job on time and on budget. So
Yeah, and nobody likes to spend a bunch of money on fines when it can be prevented.
Exactly. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, follow, send us any ideas you have. We're always looking for feedback.
Sounds like a plan. We will
see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
stay sharp,
stay safe,
and keep building.